Morning, everybody. We're fascinated, aren't we, by the rise and fall of something, the rise and fall of an empire, or the rise and fall of a company, or the rise and fall of a sports dynasty. Well, on this date in 1588, the Spanish Armada, the Spanish Navy, was in the English Channel, and the English sent fireships into the Navy, the Spanish Navy. And this led to the defeat of the Armada. And many people see this defeat as a key step in the rise of the British Empire and the slow and inevitable decline of the Spanish Empire. The English Channel is the busiest waterway in the world. It's 150 miles wide at its widest, 21 miles wide at its narrowest. Europe has had lots of ancient peoples. The Celts are one, and their relatives today live in these colored areas. And for the people in Cornwall and the people in Brittany, the English Channel is a connector of their ancient civilizations. The Romans crossed the English Channel and set up settlements in Britain. London comes from the name Londinium. And some of you have seen Hadrian's Wall, which separates Scotland from England, built by Emperor Hadrian. Another group to use the channel were the Angles and the Saxons, who invaded England after the Romans left. This is where we get our word English. And Arthur, who is known as an English hero, was first a resistor of the Angles and Saxons. The Vikings were great sailors of rivers and bays, and they used the channel and other waterways of Europe. In 1066, William the Conqueror left Normandy, the pink area in France, and invaded England. French became the language of the court in England. And if you go to Normandy today, you may visit this little town of Barfleur. From here, William the Conqueror took his ships, headed north across the English Channel to invade England. So that's worth a visit. Well, in the 1500s, the Spanish were busy sailing across the Atlantic to the New World, and the English were harassing them, and that made the Spanish mad. They were also mad that Henry VIII had divorced his first wife, who was Spanish. So they thought it was time to get Anne Boleyn's daughter, Elizabeth, off the throne. The plan was to leave Spain, go up to what is now the Netherlands and Belgium, which is green on this map and controlled by the Spanish, and use troops from there along with troops on the Spanish ships to invade England. Now, the ships of that time were not as maneuverable as they were later, so the British strategy was to let the Armada into the English Channel and then to follow them with the wind behind them, and they fought a series of battles in the Channel, culminating in this one, which is our event for today. Fireships were sailed into the Armada in one of the narrow parts of the Channel, almost wiped out the Armada. What did wipe them out eventually is when they retreated back to Spain, going around Scotland and Ireland, many ships foundered on the rocks, and it was just a wipeout. Elizabeth I is queen, and this is one of her big events, and if you look at the drawing on the left, you see the British Navy. So many people say this is the beginning of what becomes the British Empire, which lasts into the 20th century. Speaking of the 20th century, when World War I came, one of the tactics of the British Navy was to blockade the German fleet, partly to keep the German fleet out of the Channel. And in 1944, the Allies crossed the English Channel, landed at Normandy on D-Day, not far from where William the Conqueror had actually left 900 years before to invade England. Today there's a train tunnel under the English Channel. Some of you have been on it. And for the British, this was kind of a psychological change, because they'd always been separated from the continent. And now, because of the train, they were connected. So that's a historic change for everybody. So when you're visiting the English Channel, you're going north toward Dover, you see the White Cliffs pictured here. Reflect on the historic waterway you're on.